I started using social media back in the day when MySpace came out. I had my favorite songs on there. Tom is my number one amigo, and the whole nine yards. Then I was a late bloomer when it came to finally getting on Facebook. But I did use it for several years before becoming a teacher and quitting social media altogether. I mean, except Reddit, but that's different. Needless to say, I have definitely participated in the doom scrolling. But I'm not alone. According to Statista, there are about 5 billion people the world over who use social media. And one of those 5 something billion people, Pew Research says that every 9 out of 10 individuals aged 13 to 17 use social media on a daily basis, while adults aged 18 to 29 come in with a whopping 84%. Without a doubt, social media is ingrained in our society. And the majority of secondary and college age students are innately familiar with it. But social media, no matter the site you use, comes with a lot of baggage. My biggest pet peeve being those keyboard warriors who think they are holier than thou and get in arguments with strangers over the pettiest of things, or who are just downright hateful to people they have never met because, there's no real life consequences for their bad behavior. I guess it's because there's something almost freeing about being able to hide who you really are behind a username and a screen. But it's that anonymity that really got me thinking when I came up with my project for this week. I originally started off with a simple idea and was running with it for the majority of the week. A place where a teacher can assign partner or group discussions that allows for the student to be anonymous so that, they don't have to feel the pressure of working in groups in a face-to-face environment. My inspiration for this is how discussions and group work end up playing out in my own classroom. Some kids refuse to talk, either because they're shy or introverted or, just worried about being judged. Then I have the meanies who make faces or groan or go so far as insulting the people they're assigned to work with. Or the whole I'll only work if I'm working with my bestie types. I get it. Your life revolves around your friends and your social standing is always on the line. But is wanting you to learn and grow and hear different perspectives really that terrible of a thing? Then I was like, hey, you know what would be even better? What if students could contact other students throughout the whole grade level or, course for, college students? Well, for larger schools than the one that I teach, this could be awesome. Think about it. Students in different teachers' classrooms could interact with one another about the same subject and get differing perspectives due to the way the different teachers taught that content. But then, as my ideas usually do, it snowballed into something way more encompassing than just discussions between students. I was thinking about how the platform itself could be formatted so that this could be possible. And I scrolled through some images of what Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it used to look like. As I mentioned before, this was, never one that I actually used myself. That's when it hit me like a ton of bricks. What if this discussion capability was a part of a whole educational social media site? And that was the moment my idea for Chatter was born. The core objectives were simple: increase participation from marginalized students, reduce the cognitive load of learning a new tool, and provide teachers with authentic, unfiltered data on student understanding. So, picture, if you will, a home screen that students log into and they choose from an array of icons which subject they will be working on. Then, with just the tap of a button, they're automatically taken to the feed populated with their subject's post from both teachers and other students. They could be seeing memes about Shakespeare, videos about Romeo and Juliet. Sorry, I teach English. It's, where my head always goes. Or moments of clarity where another student is posting about how they finally understand the symbolism in The Lord of the Flies. It seems all over the place, but really it's all connected. And it's in a format they intuitively understand how to use. If they like the memes, they can respond with a laughing emoji. If they think the video about Romeo and Juliet is wretched, they can give it a thumbs down. If they post about understanding the symbolism and how it resonates with them, they can respond and share their own 2 cents on the topic. But the best part about all of it, they have no idea about who is posting what. I mean, except for the teachers. Those names will still show. But the other students, those are on constantly rotating basis, so no one will ever know who is posting what. I got this idea from the cute names that Google Docs gives to people who are on documents that aren't shared with them, like Blue Toucan or Quiet Kitten. At first, when I was still flying with the original idea, I thought just having unique usernames would be enough. But then as I was, thinking about it further, I realized just how much students love to talk and boast. So I had to figure out a way for them to not be able to share who they were on the platform. This is when I got the idea of constantly changing usernames every time they logged onto the platform. But all information they post or engage is still going to be tied to their user ID. It would still give the appearance of a user posting, but still hold true to the anonymity I was aiming for. But that's enough about the students. What about us teachers? In what way is this going to make our lives and our jobs easier? Well, with AI and content moderation, of course, because let's be so for real. This sounds like it could be a hot mess. I mean, giving students the ability to interact with one another in a social media environment? Have I gone crazy? Well, just so you know, the answer to that is no. So, my idea around content moderation originally came about because I was sure students were going to try and share their identities with others or do dumb things like harass each other or say inappropriate stuff. But then I thought about Grow a Garden and how if you say something that could be taken wrong or out of context, the text automatically comes out as pound signs. This could easily be utilized with keywords or phrases to keep students from crossing those boundaries. But wait, there's more. I love AI, and with Chatter, it can actually save teachers time and sanity. Two things we never have enough of. AI can take over the assessing of student posts if you want it to. Want to be sure students are staying on topic? AI can do that. Want to confirm that they're using the right writing format? Check. AI can do that too. But if you still prefer to grade things on your own, that's where the Teacher Hub steps in. It's your central command center, all your data, metrics, and discussion tools all in one place. Think of it as a constantly running formative assessment. You can see who's grasping the concepts in real time and, instead of waiting for a quiz. Want to know what engagement looks like in each class? Done. Need to say which students are excelling and which ones are struggling? Easy peasy. Metrics can be viewed for the whole grade, one class, or even a single student. And Chatter can even suggest mixed ability groups or tutoring groups for students so that they can learn from each other or get the reteach they need. I bet you're thinking there couldn't be more, right? Wrong. Let's go a step further with this. Why stop at just integrating entire grade levels per subject? What if we could create cohort classes where subjects are merged when needed? Say you're studying Frederick Douglass in English class and the Civil War and American history, and you want students to correlate what is being learned in each class. No problem. Now, I know what some of you skeptics might be thinking. This sounds fun, but is it actually backed by real educational science? You better believe it is. Chatter actually aligns with 4 major learning theories. First, we have Vygotsky's social constructivism, which argues that deeper cognitive development requires social interaction. In other words, students need to interact with not just the content, but with one another to build knowledge. So if our students are struggling to have discussions with one another while in class, they aren't really achieving this goal. But if giving them that blanket of anonymity helps them to move past their fears or prejudices, then we might have just found a way to take them to that next higher level of learning that we're aiming for. Next, we have John Sweller's cognitive load theory. You know the one that reminds us not to overload students with extra unnecessary stuff so they can actually focus on what we want them to learn. Well, Chatter is built with that in mind. Its layout mirrors the social media platforms students already use every day, so there's no learning curve. That familiarity reduces cognitive load and frees their brains to focus on the content, not the tools that are being used. Following that is connectivism from George Simons and Stephen Downes, which is basically the heart of Chatter. Learning happens through the connections we build with other people. Chatter opens up those connections by letting students interact with classmates across the entire grade level, not just the 20 to 30 kids they see each day. The more perspectives they're exposed to, the deeper their learning grows. And last but not least, the Universal Design for Learning, also known as UDL, which was created by David Rose, Ann Meyer, and their colleagues over at the Center for Applied Technology. So, UDL is all about making the accessing of information as easy as possible for anyone who needs to access it. In my vision, Chatter would be as seamless to use as other social media sites. Swipes and minimal taps to get where you're going, as well as built in speech to text and text to speech features to ensure that everyone, no matter their limitations, can participate. So, to recap, we're utilizing the social media format that students are already familiar with. We're deploying a blanket of anonymity for students to feel protected from the harsh words and actions of others. And we're at assessing student interaction and engagement using technology that saves us time. Overall, this would be a winner for both teachers and students alike. So, if any of you know some venture capitalists who believe education deserves its own revolution, point them my way, please.